The heart monitor's steady beeping was the only sound in Grandpa Joe's hospital room as I adjusted his blanket for the third time that hour. 3 days since his stroke, 3 days of doctors saying, "Wait and see." 3 days of watching the strongest man I'd ever known lie motionless in a bed. I squeezed his weathered hand, the same hand that had taught me to milk cows, plant corn, and drive a tractor before I could barely reach the pedals. The nurses said families gathering in the waiting room. My cousin Tyler said from the doorway, his voice barely above a whisper. Uncle Brad and Uncle Marcus just flew in from Denver. I nodded, not trusting my voice. The Morrison family hadn't been together in the same room for 5 years. Not since the fight over who deserved to inherit the farm when Grandpa eventually passed. Now, with him lying here unconscious, they'd all suddenly found time in their busy schedules. "You should eat something, Lily," Tyler said gently. "You've been here since Monday." "Someone needs to stay with him," I replied, still holding Grandpa's hand. "He shouldn't be alone." Tyler gave me a sad smile and left. He understood. While his father and mine had moved to cities chasing corporate dreams, Tyler and I had spent our summers on the farm. We were the only grandchildren who knew the difference between winter wheat and spring wheat, who could tell when a storm was coming by the way the cows huddled, who understood that the farm wasn't just land. It was Grandpa's soul spread across 500 acres of Minnesota soil. The door opened again, and this time it wasn't Tyler. Uncle Brad walked in, his expensive suit looking out of place in the sterile hospital room. Behind him came Uncle Marcus, and then my own father, Stephen. They looked uncomfortable, like they were attending a business meeting they couldn't avoid. "Lily," Brad said with a nod. "How's he doing?" "The same," I said, noting how none of them moved closer to the bed, how they avoided looking directly at Grandpa. "The doctors say if he doesn't wake up in the next 48 hours. Marcus trailed off, but we all knew what he meant. The chances of recovery dropped dramatically after 5 days. "He's strong," I said firmly. "He'll wake up." Brad and Marcus exchanged glances, the kind of look that said they'd already had a conversation about this. "Lily, sweetheart," my father began in his boardroom voice, "we need to discuss practical matters." "The farm can wait," I interrupted. "No, it can't," Brad said sharply. "There are bills to pay, animals to tend, crops to manage. Someone needs to make decisions." "Mrs. Henderson from the next farm over has been helping with the animals," I said. "And Josh from the co-op is handling the immediate crop issues." "That's temporary," Marcus said. "We need a permanent solution." They all stood there in their suits, looking at Grandpa like he was already gone, and something cold settled in my stomach. I knew exactly what kind of permanent solution they had in mind. "You should rest," Brad said, his tone artificially gentle. "We'll stay with him for a while. Why don't you go home, get some proper sleep? Tyler can drive you." I wanted to refuse, but exhaustion was pulling at me like quicksand. 3 days of hospital coffee and vending machine sandwiches had left me dizzy and weak. "Just for a few hours," I finally agreed, kissing Grandpa's forehead. "I'll be back tonight." As I left, I heard Marcus say something about family meeting and tomorrow morning. My unease grew, but I was too tired to process it fully. Tyler drove me to my apartment in silence. I collapsed into bed and was asleep within minutes, but my dreams were restless, full of Grandpa's voice calling my name. I woke at 2 a.m. with a start, my phone buzzing with a text from Tyler. "You need to get back here. Now. Don't let them see you." My heart racing, I drove back to the hospital in record time. Tyler met me at the side entrance, his face pale. "They're in his room," he whispered. "All of them. Dad, Uncle Brad, Uncle Stephen, even Aunt Patricia drove up from Iowa. There. Lily, they're dividing up the farm." "What?" I hissed. "He's still alive." "Barely, according to them." "Come on, there's another way to his room." We crept through the hallways like teenagers sneaking out past curfew. As we approached Grandpa's room, I could hear voices through the partially open door. "The North 40 acres have the best soil," Brad was saying. "I should get those since I'm the oldest." "Age doesn't matter," Marcus argued. "I'm the one with actual business experience. I know how to maximize land value." "You mean sell it to developers," my father accused. "At least Brad would keep it as farmland." "Farmland that he'd lease out for profit," Patricia interjected. "None of you even know how to run a farm." "Like you do," Brad snorted. "You haven't been back here in a decade." I started to storm in, but Tyler held me back. "Wait," he mouthed, pointing to his phone. He was recording them. "Look," Marcus said, his voice taking on a reasonable tone. "Let's be practical. The old man has maybe 2 days left, if that. We need to have everything ready. I've already talked to a lawyer about power of attorney. You what? Brad exploded. Someone has to take charge. He's been in a coma for 3 days. The doctors said. The doctors said wait and see, Patricia interrupted. Come on, Pat, Stephen, my father, said dismissively. You saw the scans. Even if he wakes up, he'll be a vegetable. The farm needs to be divided now, while we can do it peacefully. My hands were shaking with rage. These vultures, circling Grandpa's bed, dividing his life's work like they were splitting a check at dinner. I've drawn up a map, Brad said, and I heard paper rustling. Equal acreage for each of us. What about Lily and Tyler? Patricia asked. What about them? Marcus said. They're grandchildren, not children. They don't have a legal claim. Lily's been helping run that farm for years, Patricia pointed out. Helping, Brad emphasized. Not running. And definitely not owning. She's 25 years old. What's she going to do with 500 acres? Probably the same thing Grandpa did, Tyler muttered beside me, his fists clenched. Here's what I propose, Marcus said. We divide it 4 ways. Brad gets the north section with the good soil. I'll take the south section with the creek, good for development. Stephen gets the east with the equipment sheds, and Patricia gets the west with the farmhouse. The farmhouse? Patricia said, surprised. I don't want. You can sell it, Marcus said impatiently. Or rent it out. The point is, we each get 125 acres to do with as we please. And we do this when? Stephen asked. Tomorrow. I have the papers. Once he's declared incompetent. He's in a coma. That's pretty incompetent, Brad said with a cruel laugh. We file for emergency conservatorship. As his children, we'll be granted control of his assets. We sign the division papers, and it's done. What if he wakes up? Patricia asked quietly. Then we tell him we did it for his own good, Stephen said. To protect the farm from being tied up in probate. He'll understand. Hell, he probably won't even remember this week. I couldn't take it anymore. I was about to burst in when something extraordinary happened. Grandpa's eyes opened. Not just opened, they were clear, alert, and blazing with fury. Is that so? He said, his voice rough but strong. The room erupted in chaos. Brad dropped his papers. Marcus stumbled backward into a chair. Patricia gasped, and my father went white as a sheet. Dad, Stephen stammered. You're awake. We were just. I know exactly what you were doing, Grandpa said, slowly sitting up. And just so we're clear, I've been awake for the past 2 days. The silence that followed was deafening. 2 days, Marcus whispered. Woke up yesterday morning, Grandpa said conversationally, though his eyes were hard as flint. Doctor said it was remarkable. Full cognitive function, no permanent damage. Just needed rest. So I rested. And listened. And recorded. He held up his phone, which none of them had noticed tucked beside him under the blanket. Recorded. Brad's voice cracked. Every word, Grandpa confirmed. Every scheming, greedy, heartless word. 3 days of you vultures circling my bed, dividing up my life's work, gambling on how long I had left. I particularly enjoyed the part where Marcus called the funeral home to pre-plan for a discount. Marcus's face went from white to red. Dad, I can explain. No need, Grandpa said. Your actions explained everything perfectly. He looked at each of them in turn. My own children, standing over what you thought was my deathbed, and not one of you shed a tear. Not one of you talked about memories or love or loss. Just acres and profits and who deserves what. We were just being practical, Stephen started. Practical? Grandpa's voice rose. I've got news for you about practical. He pressed something on his phone. Sheriff Anderson? Yes, you can come in now. The door opened fully, and Sheriff Tom Anderson walked in with 2 deputies. Tyler and I shrank back into the hallway shadows, watching everything unfold. Evening, folks, the sheriff said mildly. Or should I say morning? It's past 3 a.m. now. Tom, Brad said, trying to sound authoritative. What's this about? Well, Brad, it's about conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and attempted theft of property valued over $2 million, Sheriff Anderson said. Joe here called me yesterday, told me what was happening. We've been monitoring the situation. Monitoring? Patricia squeaked. Hospital security footage, audio recordings, the works, the sheriff confirmed. Including Marcus's interesting conversation with attorney Steinberg about filing false competency claims. Marcus looked like he might faint. But the real kicker, Grandpa said, his voice now steady and strong, Is what else I learned while playing dead. Stephen, you want to tell them about the gambling debts? The ones you were planning to pay off with your share of my farm. My father's face crumbled. Or Brad, should we discuss the second mortgage you were planning to take out on your portion to save your failing business? Brad stared at the floor. Marcus, those developers you've been talking to? They're being investigated for environmental violations. You knew that, right? Marcus said nothing. And Patricia, Grandpa's voice softened slightly. You're the only one who asked about the grandchildren. But you still went along with it all. Patricia was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Here's what's going to happen, Grandpa said, swinging his legs over the side of the bed with surprising agility. First, you're all going to sign papers acknowledging attempted elder fraud. The sheriff here won't press charges, this time, but it'll be on record. Dad, you can't, Brad started. I can and I will, Grandpa interrupted. Second, you're all disinherited from the farm. Every last one of you. The collective gasp could probably be heard in the next ward. The farm is going to Lily and Tyler, Grandpa continued. The only two people in this family who give a damn about it. Who've spent their summers learning the land, who know every cow by name, who understand that farming isn't about money, it's about legacy. That's when I stepped into the room, Tyler beside me. Grandpa, I said, tears streaming down my face. There's my girl, he said, opening his arms. I flew into them, sobbing with relief. Did you really think I'd leave you, little one? Without teaching you how to handle the new combine. Lily knew about this? Stephen asked, incredulous. Of course not, Grandpa said. Lily's been here every day, holding my hand, talking to me about the farm, about the memories, about Grandma. She had no idea I was awake. Unlike you vultures, she was here out of love, not greed. Tyler stepped forward. Grandpa Joe, we don't need. Yes, you do, Grandpa said firmly. You two are the only ones who've ever loved that land the way it deserves. You'll run it together, keep it in the family, make it thrive. This is illegal. Marcus sputtered. We'll contest. With what grounds? Sheriff Anderson asked mildly. You're on record attempting to defraud an elderly man. Any judge who sees this evidence will laugh you out of court. I need you all to leave, Grandpa said quietly. And don't come back unless you can remember how to be children instead of creditors. One by one, they filed out. Patricia stopped at the door, looking back. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I know, Patty, Grandpa said gently. Maybe someday we can talk about it. But not today. When they were gone, Sheriff Anderson tipped his hat. Joe, you need anything else, you call me. Lily, Tyler, congratulations. You've got big shoes to fill, but I know you're up to it. After he left, the three of us sat in silence for a moment. Grandpa, Tyler finally said, were you really awake for 2 days? Grandpa grinned, and suddenly he looked like the mischievous young man in the old photos Grandma used to show us. Actually, I woke up about 6 hours ago. But I heard enough. The nurse, Beth, she's been keeping me informed about what they were saying when I was actually unconscious. She's the one who suggested I play possum a little longer and called Sheriff Anderson for me. You sly old fox, I said, laughing through my tears. Lily, Tyler, Grandpa said seriously, the farm is yours, but it's also a responsibility. It's not about the money or the land value. It's about keeping something real in a world that's increasingly fake. It's about knowing where your food comes from, about respecting the earth, about community. We know, Grandpa, Tyler said. You taught us well. What about the others? I asked. They're still your children. Grandpa sighed. They made their choices long ago. They chose city life, corporate ladders, quick money. I don't blame them for that. But I do blame them for what I saw these past few days. Maybe someday they'll understand what they lost today wasn't land. It was their connection to something bigger than themselves. The sun was starting to rise, painting the hospital room in soft gold. Grandpa looked out the window toward the east, toward his farm. You know what? He said. I think I'm ready to go home. Lily, Tyler, how about you drive me? We've got soybeans to check on, and I heard the Hendersons' mare had her foal. Plus, someone needs to teach you both how to use that new combine properly. As we helped him get dressed, I thought about the uncles and my father, probably at some diner now, complaining about the unfairness of it all. They'd never understand that Grandpa hadn't disinherited them today. They'd disinherited themselves years ago when they'd stopped seeing the farm as home and started seeing it as an asset. Grandpa, I said as we walked toward the elevator, him surprisingly steady on his feet. What if they try to cause trouble? He patted my hand. Let them try. I've got 3 days of recordings, a sheriff's report, and video evidence of their attempted fraud. But more than that, I've got you too. And that's worth more than all the acres in Minnesota. As we drove home, the rising sun illuminating the fields of corn and soybeans, Grandpa started humming an old Johnny Cash song. Tyler and I joined in, and for the first time in days, everything felt right with the world. The farm was safe. Grandpa was alive, and the land would stay in the hands of people who loved it. Sometimes, playing dead is the best way to show others what really matters in life. And sometimes, the best inheritance isn't what you're given. It's what you earn through love, loyalty, and knowing the difference between a legacy